Hello and welcome to the Samurai Games podcast here on 30K1 Productions. Um, I talk now in English because we have the second time that we have an English only podcast. I will translate it now in German because I have mostly people in Germany who listen, but maybe we can get others here around too. So, wir haben einen Podcast diesmal wieder in Englisch. Ich hoffe, ihr habt Verständnis dafür und ja, also bleibt dran und wir sprechen über Assassin's Creed. Yes, we talk about Assassin's Creed and I have the privilege here to have the one and only, the one from Knarfish Productions, if I'm right, and the only one who could handle this of the Gamer Social Club. Here is Harry.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm really happy to be here. This is my first guest appearance on any other podcast. So, you're the first for me. So thank you. It's a real honor.
Yeah, of course, you're welcome. And for the ones who are first listening, I'm not perfect in English. I try my best. I'm from Germany, so please, please don't worry. But I try really my best, and yeah. So we are talking about Assassin's Creed, and first, before we start in the podcast, I want to know what did you play lately for the game, and can you talk about it?
Yeah, so the last Assassin's Creed I played, that would be
No. The last game you played January.
Oh, generally. Oh, sorry. In that case, it's Avowed. I'm really, really enjoying Avowed. That's been my sort of personal game to play because I didn't have to do any content for the site or anything like that. I wasn't on the review. That was our good friend Husky who did that, the Husky Okage. And I've been just taking that nice and steady, enjoying the journey, the adventure, and just absolutely loving the combat in particular with the variety of weapons you can pick from. And I've changed my build several times just because of how much fun it is to try new things out. And normally I'm the sort of guy who, when I find what I like, I stick with it and I don't change. But, Avowed's got a lot of cool, spells that you can sling, and the pistols are a lot of fun. And yeah, just mixing and matching stuff is a lot of fun in that game. So really, really enjoying Avowed.
That sounds really nice. For me, I played lately again Dragon Age Inquisition again this second time, and I really enjoy it again because I wanted to play the Dragon Age before because I want to start somehow in Veilguard, and I didn't play Veilguard so far, and I thought give it another try. And the cool thing was that I could import the save states from Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 into Inquisition then, and then I can start with the decisions I did there. And this is really, really interesting so far. And this was my experience with the game. And please, if you also have questions, Harry, to me, and please consider to ask them.
Yeah. I mean, well, I only played Origins. I never went through the whole of the Dragon Age series, but I was aware of the carryover of saves, to continue with your character, similar to, well, like they did with Mass Effect. But I always wanted to go back to the series, and I think with Veilguard having been released, I've been more tempted now recently, and having heard you play Inquisition now, maybe that's something I'll have to try and get done this year, is play through Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition before Veilguard. I've got a lot there to enjoy.
Okay, but first, I have to say that on the Gamer Social Club you are too, and there is a a little thing called the Fantasy Critic, and we talk about Assassin's Creed today, and nobody picked Assassin's Creed Shadows. Can you explain why?
Yeah, well, I can give you definitely from my point of view because for me, it's one of those where my history with Assassin's Creed is one where I've loved a couple of different games from the series, in particular the first 4 or 5, I guess you would say. With the first game going through, then the Ezio trilogy, um, and then a couple of other ones later on I enjoyed, but it was a case of playing them and feeling like these are great games, but they don't feel like what I thought Assassin's Creed was. So, some of my favorites were things like Black Flag and Odyssey, which I think are both great games, but Black Flag to me is a very good pirate game more than an Assassin's game. And Odyssey is a great sort of adventure, mercenary kind of, almost make your own story more than an Assassin's Creed again. But I love the settings, I love the stories and the characters in those ones. And for me, Shadows is something that I was hoping would happen, like a lot of Assassin's Creed fans, much earlier. At the end of the very first game, there's actually an Easter egg that indicated that Japan was meant to be a setting for Assassin's Creed much earlier than we got it. And obviously it meant that fans always wanted something set there for a long, long time, and finally it arrives. But to get here, Assassin's Creed, the series, has gone on kind of it's not always been up and up. There have been moments where it's struggled. For me, because I know that not every Assassin's Creed is for me, I wasn't sure that I could commit to being like, yeah, I think this Assassin's Creed is going to hit right, because I don't know if what I want is actually what everybody else wants from the series. I think I might be a little bit of an odd kind of case where if the games were to get smaller again, similar to what they were like originally before they introduced a lot of side mechanics and, alternative like, jobs and things like that you can do to kind of flesh out the game. I feel like I can't speak to like the broader audience, so I can't have much faith in knowing what this game's going to be. So for me, I looked at it and thought, yeah, it could be a big hit, but also it could also end up being just something that everyone says like it's more of what you expect, and maybe not get the bigger numbers that you obviously want with your Fantasy Critic. I mean, I know I'm taking some risks on mine. I've got quite a few unknowns, but again, it's your gut feeling, isn't it? You got to go with what feels right. And so for me, picking something like Claire Obscura Expedition 33, which brand new game, we don't know much about it. We know more and more every day, thankfully, because they've been releasing information about it. But it's a whole new IP from a new studio, a lot of questions, as it were. But yeah, watching that, I felt good about it, more so than say watching Assassin's Creed stuff. And that's that's very much just a personal take from me. You'd have to definitely ask the others on the Fantasy Critic what their reasoning is.
I mean, Assassin's Creed is a big name, of course, and some people can't get into the franchise, of course. And how you said, every Assassin's Creed is different, of course, because of the history and so on. And you said that not every Assassin's Creed is an Assassin's Creed. We talk about that later, I think. But I want to say that Fraser did pick Pirate in the Hawaii. So we have our pirate game.
It's true. It's true. That is, and I've only heard amazing things again about that. And I'm a stranger to the Yakuza series, but it's always it looks like so much fun. I think the only thing that puts me off them is just knowing how big they are. Taking on any big games like an Assassin's Creed, often like Valhalla was one which I know for a lot of people they were like, this is huge. And I played Odyssey, which was already really big. But yeah, so yeah, I think yeah, you go with your gut with some of these picks, and you just try and maybe play the field a bit as well. You don't want to pigeonhole yourself too much with your picks, maybe.
Okay, but for now, for the people who didn't know, I planned the podcast a while ago, long ago, I think January or even December last year. I wanted to do it and I didn't find um, a good person who want to do it, and I found it now. So I I asked some people about it, and of course, some are in the Gamer Social Club, so you know them.
Of course, yeah,
And
yeah.
we got some questions here, and we will answer them probably. So, but we can say that I only played maybe 3 or 4 Assassin's Creed games. How much did you play it?
Yeah, so if I'm going down the list, I played the first game, Assassin's Creed. Then I played the Ezio trilogy, so Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations, if that's correct. Um, and then I played Black Flag all the way through. I I tried 3, but I actually didn't enjoy 3. 3 was where the crack started to show for me, as far as, oh, these are the bits I don't like in these games. But Black Flag was great fun. And then I actually played a couple of the smaller side-scrolling ones that they've released, part of the Chronicles series. I don't know if you ever saw any of those. Like, they had Russia, India, and China as their settings, and they were more like side-scrolly and much more focused on stealth combat, as opposed to like all out, running through and slicing people up. So I enjoyed those for the focus on stealth. And then um, I think it would have been Odyssey, and Odyssey was because of the setting. I'm a big fan of sort of Greco-Roman uh, culture and history and myths and all that sort of stuff. So getting to be in that setting was a big draw for me. Um, and then yeah, that would be the last one. I was interested in Mirage, and I might pick that up because I know it's a smaller title. But with Shadows, obviously, coming up, and the setting being Japan, which is also it's a personal thing for me as well, because actually it's actually where I was born. I was born in Tokyo when my parents were living up there due to my dad's job. So it's sort of it's a second home to me in that respect. My family did a lot of traveling when I was younger, but I always remember the fact that I was born there. So being able to have this series finally in Japan is very cool, very exciting, and it'd be nice to see their rendition of it. Yeah, so that's my history with the series, I guess.
Ah, then you played much more than me because I started with a Black Flag because I love
Mhm.
the pirate settings, of course, and I have to say I didn't play all Assassin's Creed because the thing is, I don't like every history, and I can say, yeah, this is interesting, but Valhalla, I don't know because of the Vikings. I don't care, and
Yes, I'm the same. Like that, I decided to start picking and choosing which ones I wanted to play. Like, I didn't play Unity because I wasn't particularly interested in French Revolution. Um, but yeah, that I'm exactly the same.
yeah, and the thing about Unity is the bug fiasco that they had back then. But
Mm.
I think they resolved it, and yeah, I picked it up, but I didn't play it around. Then I played Syndicate, the one in Great Britain, which
Hmm.
was really really cool, and yeah, and I played Origins because I'm interested in the old Egypt and the pyramids and so on. That is really interesting. And there is also a mission about Final Fantasy in there, so you can get a chocobo and riding around Egypt. This is really interesting.
I didn't know that. That's cool. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, because there was a collaboration between Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed, and also in Final Fantasy 15 there was a mission where you can get the Ezio clothing, I think, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, wear it. So yeah, there
That's
was
great.
something, but now I think it isn't anymore.
Those fun crossovers you get are great. Yeah, that's very cool. Like I just saw that Control, the Remedy game, has got an update, and with it came the PlayStation exclusive mission, which had Hideo Kojima narrating over the top of the mission as you play through it. So I think now that's on PC now as well, which is kind of cool. So I love just seeing those sort of fun, wacky crossovers between studios and creators and stuff. It's really fun when they do that. It's a nice way to sort of celebrate each other in that way. Actually, one of my favorites that do that is Rare with Sea of Thieves. They did so many cool ship sets that were just references to other IPs. And yeah, I like that. I like seeing that kind of celebration.
I totally agree. Of course, we have to play Sea of Thieves together too someday, and
Absolutely, yeah. I'll find some time, definitely.
of course, I want to say that I like the collaboration in Cyberpunk 2077 because you can find Kojima in person there.
Mm,
Really, really, really cool.
very
And
cool.
for Control, I need to play it. I played it, but I need to play the mission, and it comes for Xbox and PlayStation 5 too. I think
Mm,
the thing was PlayStation 4 exclusive. Or is not on the PlayStation 5? I don't know, but how I heard, it is only on the PlayStation 4 the exclusive missions. But yeah, it's a little bit strange. But now it
yeah.
comes for everyone, and everyone would be happy, and it gets a graphic update too, and it is really, really, really fucking cool. So, but now we stop about that. We talk now really about Assassin's Creed, and I start with the first question, and it comes from Steve, and you know
Oh,
Steve.
excellent. Yes, Sir Steve, big
Uh,
fan.
Yeah, so we sent some greetings to him, and he asked, after Assassin's Creed Shadows, what would be the next idle time frame for the next Assassin's Creed franchise, and what would that do for the series to keep Fox coming back? What would you say? I mean, Ubisoft is now have now some problems, and what would you do for that, for the future of Assassin's Creed after Shadows, personally?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that um, they've got is it at least one or two more other entries they've got planned. So you've got the one that's set during um the witch trials in America, in the United States, which that sounds like it could be a very cool setting to go there. But personally, um, I I like when they kind of go more into uh, the sort of the um, more fantastical side of stuff. So I enjoyed how in Odyssey I could go fight things like the Minotaur and Medusa and stuff like that. So um, finding another setting where that to do more of that is possible, and I know they did some of that with like Valhalla as well, and I can only assume that they'll do maybe some of that in Shadows. But yeah, to find another setting where they can hopefully do a good job of um, highlighting the culture, celebrating the culture, um, all while making a fun, riveting story for everyone to enjoy. Um, I personally would love to see something set maybe in the um, in South America, more sort of the sort of Aztec sort of era period. Um, possibly involving the arrival of the West with the conquistadors from Spain, and that being the matchup between the assassins and the Templars, because that was for the longest time that was has been the overarching kind of story going on with the Assassin's Creed series, is these two warring factions trying to kind of control slash free everyone in the world, as it were. So yeah, from a personal standpoint, I would be very interested in seeing a Assassin's Creed game where they maybe went to that period in South America, and you got to go through like the thick Amazon jungle, and finding go to these sort of amazing ziggurat temples, and um, maybe having to deal with the conquest of the conquistadors, and the relationship there between them and the Templar Order, and then you and possibly having one of these other assassins from one of the other games travel there to be the person to deliver, or to spread the Assassin's Creed order across to South America. I know that they've tied characters between Mirage and Valhalla, and I think Odyssey has references to a couple of the other ones that I wasn't very familiar with, but I could tell that they were saying like, oh, this character is from one of these other games. So tying it all together, I would be excited to see that. As to whether or not it would fix the series or anything like that, I don't know. That for me, as I said earlier, is something where I don't know what people necessarily want from the series, because the games have had so many different iterations, and a lot of them have been successful, and they're not always the same type. So I personally would like to see a more stripped down, stealth and assassination focused kind of game. I think I'm in a minority camp here, where I think the first Assassin's Creed is excellent. I was a huge fan of the first one, and bugs and all, I know they had issues and people didn't like all the flags you had to collect and things like that. But for me personally, Altair, the main character from that, and the setting of the Crusades, is still one of the best and strongest to me. So to maybe try and recapture some of that energy I personally would think would be very cool. But again, I may be speaking for only a small percentage of the audience who would maybe want something more like another Valhalla or an Odyssey, with the scale and the variety there. So I don't know. What about you? Where would you want to go with the series if you had the choice?
First, I want to say that many people say that Assassin's Creed got more repetitive, always the same, and yeah, it's
Mm,
get bigger and so on. And you played the side scroller. I played a little bit Assassin's Creed China, but
mm,
somehow I didn't get into that. But it was a nice idea. And of course, I saw the announcement when Shadows was said, Hexen was said, like you said, and
that's right.
the
Yeah.
one in China, Jade, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
this was a little strange for me because it was a mobile only game, and I was curious about that. Why they would do a mobile game about that? I mean, mobile games nowadays. Everyone has a mobile phone and play some games, but Assassin's Creed and mobile, yeah, there was a PSP game um, back in the day from Assassin's Creed, and
Mm-hmm.
this was I played only a little, and I think it was good. We have to ask casualties of gaming about that. I think he has more experience about that because he has still a PSP. But for me, I can't say about that. And for your idea, I would say aesthetics here in South America, of course, and Mexico maybe a bit would be interesting too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
of course, about the pyramids, Montezuma, etc., etc. Sounds really, really fucking interesting, and I think we will see something. But first, of course, we can do another point in my list, the Ubisoft fiasco short. I mean, we have a really fiasco, not we, but Ubisoft. Um, what the question? What I say? What can they do? I mean, they made good games. I mean, I bought Avatar. I bought the Star Wars Outlaws games, and now it comes Assassin's Creed Shadows, which has to be good in sales for them. Yeah, and they had so many franchises. We wait so long for Splinter Cell, for example, and so many franchises like Rayman, nothing to
Hmm.
hear about, and of course Nintendo with the thing with the rabbits. What can they do in your opinion?
Yeah, yeah, it's a real tough and it's a sad situation, honestly, because I think if you strip away the business side of it for a moment, just to look at what Ubisoft have been all these years, they've been an incredibly creative and um, sort of forward-thinking and diverse studio, making all manner of great series. As you said, with things like Rayman, Splinter Cell, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and then as he points out, some of their licensed properties. So like from Disney with Star Wars and getting stuff like Avatar as well. They put a lot of love and hard work into their games, and I think a lot of the time what actually is causing them such an issue is not that the games themselves are not performing as they should. They are performing as they should, but they're hampered by awful management and decision making at the top, where they are, making knee jerk reactions to getting on board with NFTs and the blockchain and stuff like this, and setting up, trying to create all manner of strange, kind of supposed future kind of concepts like the Assassin's Creed sort of Infinity thing that they've been talking about. This sort of huge project that's going on and should be, I don't know, tying everything together in some capacity. It's it's honestly kind of difficult to watch because it, it only feels like half they take maybe two steps forward or one step forward, and it's one or two steps back nearly every time. We think about the Beyond Good and Evil 2 that was announced years ago, and we haven't seen anything from. You mentioned the Rabbit series that was created by Soliani, who then has now left and started his own studio. So it's, as far as what they could do to right the ship, I think they would do themselves a lot of good to do right by a lot of the series that got them there in the first place. Things like Rayman and Splinter Cell in particular. The creativity they have is still there. We saw things like, one of my favorite games from last year was the Prince of Persia Lost Crown, the Metroidvania title they did. It was brilliant and deserved all the praise it got. And for the studio then to be shuttered afterwards because Ubisoft can't handle the fact that it didn't make more than it already did and was praised as much as it was, speaks to something that's not the problem with the studio, with that studio. It's with Ubisoft as a whole, and it comes from further up. But again, the wrong people are taking the punishment for it, and having to deal with the consequences. So I think if Ubisoft was to stop being so rash with its decision making, whether that's a leftover from dealing with the takeover that they were dealing with years ago, I don't know, but they do right a lot of the time with a lot of the franchises they're still focused on, but they would do themselves a lot of good, I think, to try and bring back some of those others which have a lot of long-time fans and could tap into audiences that they are otherwise leaving out for other people to make the most of. You know, there are plenty of people who out there who'd want to play a Splinter Cell game again. There's plenty of people out there who'd want to play another Rayman. There's plenty of people who'd want to play more Prince of Persia. Yeah, I think they rely too heavily on certain IPs, and they don't do enough with their catalog. And when their catalog doesn't do as well as the big IPs that they pump all they can into, they just snip them all off, you know, from the branch, as it were. And that's just, you know, them hurting themselves further, you know. So yeah, it's a sad case. It's a sad affair, really, at the end of the day.
But I totally agree with you. But I want to say they tried something different. How you said with Prince of Persia. I mean,
Mm.
Prince of Persia series was long time ago, and the last Prince of Persia was, I think, Sense of Time. No, not Sense of Time. Another thing. And the Assassin's Creed formula based on that project on Prince of Persia, because some people thought the first Assassin's Creed would be another Prince of Persia, but it wasn't. It was another brand, and I think the problem for many people that buy Ubisoft games is that they are too similar. I mean, Avatar, they could say it could be another Far Cry, only with the Avatar brand, and Star Wars the same. Maybe with Assassin's Creed brand in there, but I think they did well with another things, like you said, Prince of Persia, Metroidvania, another thing, another try, and I would say Immortal Phoenix Rising, because they
Oh
did
yeah,
they are a little different too, and I mean some games are repetitive. I mean, The Division, I don't know. It's
I,
always the same.
yeah. I mean, but it speaks again to their catalog. You know, you mentioned two other titles that I'd completely forgotten to mention. One which I really enjoyed, Immortals Phoenix Rising, and then was, you know, very upset to hear when they cancelled the second one, which was going to have a Polynesian setting, you know, so Pacific Islands and things like that, which again is something that we don't see that much of, and would have been really interesting to see them tackle that and bring that to life. And The Division, which is a series I have no experience with, but I have friends who have played a lot of it, and they'll speak to the strengths of it more than I could. But I know full well that there are a lot of people out there who want there to be a third Division game. And again, the question is, why haven't they done it? You know, why have they done other things instead with the Tom Clancy IP or name, which have gotten them nowhere? You know, they've spent a lot of time chasing trends, doing exactly the sort of thing that, you know, we see happen again and again with studios who think it's best to completely shift focus and start making whatever is the current hot, you know, genre, whether it's a, you know, hero shooter or a, you know, I don't know, you know, like a Vampire Survivors clone or whatever it could possibly be, whatever it is that's going on at the time, you know, making another Fortnite clone. It speaks to the rash behavior, speaks to the mismanagement, that we do not have these things that, for all intents and purposes, would be sure bets. They wouldn't necessarily be, you know, big money makers, but they would not be, they would not be, you know, drastic, kind of like, oh, this is what killed the brand, this is what brought Ubisoft to its knees. It's it's just so surprising that they have such a stable of IPs and yet seem so unwilling to actually use them in ways that don't seem difficult to understand.
I think the worst fiasco for our players was the crew fiasco because the thing with the crew was that the first crew was cancelled off all stores and you can't play it anymore. I mean, a racing game. Hello, Ubisoft. And then later. I think last year they announced that the Crew 2 and Motorfest get an offline mode, which they didn't get so far. So it's really annoying.
Yeah, and this is a minor point in comparison to what we're talking about right now, but it speaks again to the attitudes of the studio where they bite the hand that feeds when it comes to the consumer base. Because I can remember picking up Immortals Phoenix Rising, now that I'm thinking about it, because I was very excited when they announced it and was really, when it was known as Gods and Monsters before they then had to change the name. I was very excited for that. I pre-ordered it and I picked it up day one when it was released. And thus I paid full price for it, only for the game then to go on sale, and a decent sale at that, at least something like 30% off, within a matter of, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks. 2 months at a push. And so to see that happen over and over again with so many of their titles, where a game releases at full price, fans buy it at full price, maybe even going for one of their other more ludicrous tiers of, the deluxe edition or the gold edition or whatever it might be, only to then see it go on sale in a couple of months' time, is a real kick in the teeth. And I think savvy gamers who want to watch how much they spend on their hobby are starting to recognize that more and more, and not pick up the title day one, which of course is affecting the sales of the game, and meaning that the game's not making as much as it otherwise would have done. So, when you have those sort of behaviors as well going on, it you start to lose trust with your audience and with your consumer base as well, even the ones who want to play the games that you're making.
Yeah, and the consequence about that is that prices went up to 70 or 80 to 80 bucks, and this is also not good. Then season pass too, when you want all about 100, 120, and it's getting all crazy. I mean, I can understand that the publisher and of course the makers of the game wants to have the money. I mean, if we look at some movies out there, they want to also have money. The actors want to have money, and so on. And I can really understand that, but we have also have to look at us personally. Some of us don't have the money, and we have now the war in the Ukraine and so on, and the problems with the money in general. But this is another story for that. But yeah, we have to look. I think I heard from someone in the UK that the butter got really expensive, and it is really getting annoying.
Yeah, it's tough. We are living in times where people have to be very, very careful about their spending. Not everybody can afford a hobby like gaming because it's an expensive hobby. Whether it's having a PC or having a console. I think if anything, again, that's probably why there's such an increase in mobile gaming, is because everybody needs a mobile phone in this day and age. So if you've already got that device, and now it offers the opportunity to buy games through the Apple Arcade or the Play Store, whatever it might be, and you've got some time to kill, and you've got a couple of, you've got some money, a small amount of money to spend on maybe a couple of games. Why wouldn't you? I guess now that it's available to you. So people are trying to be savvier with their money, but at the same time, as we've seen with recent charts showing how 10 games are taking in something like 40% of all sort of player attention and revenue and all the rest of it. That's like, a scary sign of how hard the market is for others who aren't a Fortnite or Roblox or Minecraft or something like that, or Call of Duty. So again, I think a lot of it comes down to the expectations of the publisher, on how much they think they can make from this. And you're absolutely right. I think we should all want to see these people paid, for their hard work. Especially because they put so much time and effort into these things. These games are not made in a week. Far from it. And they especially titles like Assassin's Creed have hundreds of people working on it. So that what they're asking for is not outlandish. It's just that the way it's handled and the way it's offered to players is what's causing these issues. I mean that people are now just being that little bit more careful with their money.
Course, and people have less and less times for play them. And if a game is big, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Valhalla, for example, I mean, Valhalla is 130 hours, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is really, 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 really crazy. And yeah, you get a lot of the money maybe, but the time is short and for us all. But yeah, I would say we make a lot of we make the next questions here, but because then we get far away from the screen, and this is not good. I think.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one, you know him too, and we talk about him lately. Is Fraser from Australia? Hello, Australia.
Hello, Phrase.
Okay, he asked. I don't know if you can answer the question. The first question. It was 4 questions from him, so we start with the first. Okay, I start. Which Assassin's Creed has the best DLC? He says, for me, it is a tie between Wrath of the Druids of Valhalla or Jack the Ripper from Syndicate. I can say that I played the Jack the Ripper DLC from Syndicate and I really liked it. And Wrath of the Druids, I didn't play it. Valhalla.
For me, I haven't played either of those, so I can't speak to them. But I do know that people enjoyed, in particular, the Jack the Ripper one. I remember that being very popular. For me, it was. I'm going to have to look up its name quickly, but it was one of the ones for Odyssey, which saw you going basically sort of to a different. I think it was going to Elysium, where the gods were, and that was just really pushing the whole, let's take this to a totally high sort of fantastical level. And I just really loved, the spectacle, and I think with it came a bunch of stuff to do with like different mythological creatures and things like that. Let me just see if I can find the name now. My internet's again being slow, but it's getting there. It's chugging along. Yes, it was the Fate of Atlantis DLC. I think it was. Yeah. So not going to Elysium, I don't think, but yeah, down to Atlantis, and that was really fun. I really enjoyed doing that. And then yeah, I think I may be even the only one that actually played any of the DLC for. Because the earlier games didn't have DLC. Many of them, if they had anything, it was add-ons, like little packs. So yeah.
I remember the time when I played Warcraft 3, and then the add-on Frozen Throne came, and this was a different time back then.
Mm.
And yeah, I can understand that. And yeah, Jack the Ripper DLC is really, really interesting because of the you can experience the thing of Jack the Ripper, and it's really, really, really interesting what they did there. Um, so yeah, and I played Freedom Core, the last one of Black Flag. Yeah, it was interesting, but yeah, not what we needed. I think only a little bit added about the slavery, and yeah, it was okay, I would say. The next question is, I would say I could put two questions in that. First, um, I would say put the questions with duct tape of the UK of America, because he asked which is the best game, and I would say the other questions from phrase I would put in it. Who was the best dressed protagonist?
Oh, okay. So, mm, based on the games I played, I would say the best. Oh, it's really tough, actually. I would probably say number two for me personally. I really, really love two. And then what's funny about that is I didn't like Ezio, who's the main character of that one, Ezio Auditore. I didn't like him off the beginning because I'd liked being Altair from the first game so much, and he's this very stoic, very calm, quiet, calculating sort of person. You know, this he is a weapon designed for a single purpose, and he has trained his whole life for it. And obviously, when you then start the story with Ezio in two, he's this rambunctious, loud, bolshy, immature, hothead, you know. And I was like, oh, well, I don't want to have to be this idiot. I don't want. This is not my idea of an assassin. But then watching his story as he learns to become an assassin and goes through this training and steps into the role. I really learned to love him as a character, and for that reason, he's probably also my favorite, even more so than Cassandra from Odyssey, who it's a close second. Certainly, I absolutely adore her, and I think she was really well acted. But Ezio again also had the chance of having the three games to fully tell his story, so he got sort of special treatment, I guess. But yeah, two is probably my favorite, and then actually I would probably also give him the award for best dressed as well. I think all of Ezio's outfits and the customization you could get with them in the later games and stuff like that was just fantastic. It always looked great. The medieval look, the sort of the sort of Italian Renaissance look is just great. I thought it was very cool. And yeah. So I guess Ezio Ezio wins both those awards.
That sounds really, really cool. And for me, I would say my favorite is Black Flag, of course. I like the pirate setting, and
Absolutely.
yeah, I really like the story, and I mean that they put also the female protagonist in there because they existed in the pirate
Mm-hmm.
scene, and it was really interesting what they did there, and of course Blackbeard and so on. It was really, really, really cool what they did there. And the best dressed for me is Evie Fry from Syndicate, the female protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
She looks cool, and yeah, she can get a little bit annoying for some, I think, but I like her. So the question was the best dressed, and I had to pick her.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good pick. And I would also say that Kenway from Black Flag actually has a very cool look. As much as he very much leans into the pirate thing, I like how they mixed it with like the hood and stuff like that. So yeah, Kenway again, I think looks really cool.
That's true. So the next question of Fraser is, what abandoned mechanics should they bring back? And I would add to these questions, what are the best things Assassin's Creed did in the franchise?
Oh, okay. Um, there's a part of me that wants to make a really like what I would see as a hot take and be like they should bring back all the,
Do it, do it, do it.
collectibles. They should bring back all the collectibles. I enjoyed running about and finding stuff and on rooftops and things like that. I really dug like really getting deep into locations and exploring and finding flags or feathers or whatever it might have been. I really enjoyed it, and the payoffs weren't always great. That's true, but that's the collectathon in me. That's what I enjoy is searching around for these sorts of things. Admittedly, if they can throw in a mechanic that helps with that, that would be great. But otherwise, no, I really did enjoy finding all the collectibles in the cities and stuff like that in locations. Um, less hot take, I guess, if I was to bring anything back that was cut. I don't know. It's tough. I think it's more that it's not so much that it's been cut. It's more that it's just evolved with time and mechanics. But again, in the very first Assassin's Creed, I liked how you had like Crusader knights just sort of standing at certain points, and they were kind of like these much more difficult showdowns between you and them on like an even playing field where you couldn't just always assassinate them quickly and get the quick kill. So the idea of like just finding those sort of harder fights sort of out of the way that aren't tied to a story. I mean, again, that like I said, that's still in these games, but it's just handled differently now, I think. But yeah, I just like that. They were kind of these sort of almost quite kind of tense moments where you were like, oh god, I've got to fight this guy. This is going to be tough. Am I going to make it?
Sounds really interesting. And for me, I would say the same as you. I liked to collect the shanties in Black Flag because yeah, the crew sings another song, and it is really really cool that you collect the songs for it. And I liked the things you did on the ship there. When you go to the cabin and say, hey, those ships goes in this area and collect this and or that for me. That was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. In particular, your call out for the shanties. That's a great touch, and I like that how they weave that into what it is. You're doing a pirate game. What do pirates do when they're sailing around? They sing shanties. That's a really good pick.
And I need to play Rogue too because Rogue is also on the ship. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I think I will play that for the next Assassin's Creed for me. Um, yeah. So the next the next questions and last questions goes more to the future again of the Assassin's Creed franchises. So the last question of Fraser here is: would co-op bring a new flavor to the series?
I mean, yeah, it definitely would. I think, and we kind of saw that a little bit with Unity, obviously. But yeah, if they went with an actual co-op game where either you could play it single player and the other was controlled by an AI, or your friend could just drop out and take over the other character. But definitely, the idea of being able to again, it depends on obviously on the structure, but in my mind immediately goes the idea of trying to coordinate assassinations, with you having two different builds that allow you to have different abilities in the field. So you've got your target, you need to get into wherever they are. You need, in a sense, if you were to strip back these games a little bit, you would get something closer to what like a Hitman is, as far as a game style. And the idea of then doing that with two of you would be very cool to me. I think, of being able to say like, okay, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to get them through this entrance. I'm going to take out that guard so that you can then sneak through on your side because he can't see you, and you can then, cut this rope that's going to make the chandelier fall and kill the target. That sort of stuff. That's a real simple example, obviously, but I like the idea of being able to, communicate with each other and plan accordingly, and then react to when things maybe go wrong. Definitely co-op, I think, would be a cool addition, and it just have to be, again, handled, I think, correctly. I mean, would you want to play, like, would you be interested in doing that, or do you like having the Assassin's Creed games as more of a solo experience?
I'm more in the solo experience because so I think it is more of a different perspective, because I like that the game is playing offline someday, and if you have a co-op experience, for example, like Split Fiction, for example, which is now very, very popular, then you need to take care first that you have a friend which you can always have to make some decisions, and second, that the game has to be always mostly online. And if you don't have the internet someday, and or that for a couple of hours you can't go into the game, or you don't want to play the game, then it's really different. I think I have another perspective. What
Oh yeah.
about the thing? I mean, we live in a different time zones around the world, and I recently said the thing about the ship, and the thing in the captain, and that you coordinate the ships to get some stuff. So what about the thing that, for example, I play, for example, Assassin's Creed Mexico, for example, as a future title, and I say, hey, I want this or that. For example, I want some bananas here, and I don't have a resource, and I can say, here, here we go for an adventure, and collect for the bananas for me, and you want some coconut for me, and I collect the coconut for you, and or some as a for example, there was I think in the Ezio collection. I watched it in the stream in the part 2. There was also Assassin's Creed missions where you have to coordinate the Assassin's Creed on the rooftops, and then they attacked them. I don't know if you remember that, but
Yeah, that I think was in Brotherhood, if I remember correctly, or maybe that was Revelations, or I can't remember which one it was in actually now. Those three unfortunately do blend a little bit together for me now. It's been so long, but I know exactly what you're talking about, because there was one where you would send them off to go and get resources for you by sending them to locations on a map, and that would take a certain amount of in-game time. But yeah, there were then these sections where, like, you would be protecting a location, and you'd have them positioned on rooftops, and they drop down and do their attacks and stuff when they were sort of activated.
yeah, the thing I mean is for example, if I need something, or if I need your help, then you can do it, and you get a reward for that. And if you need
Yeah,
something, and I get a reward for that. So we have a little I
I
do it
like that.
in quotes co-op thing a bit.
Yeah, I like that idea actually more than the idea of just flat straight co-op, as you said, online co-op, where you have to have a connection all the time. The idea of maybe going for more of a, I guess what is referred to now as like the Strand game, like Hideo Kojima's Death Stranding, where you're doing things in your game that are then affecting things in other people's games. So, there's a bridge here, I want to cross over. There's a river here, I want to cross over. I'll start building a bridge. You put the thing down to start building it. You add your resources to it, and then in somebody else's game, they're adding their resources to it as well. So it gets built that much quicker, so that everybody can then use the bridge in their game. The idea being then, as you say, almost like sending requests to your friends to be like, I need this resource. If you get it for me, I'll give you this one. And maybe then in their game, it can appear as a mission that they can then choose to do in it. And then they have to, and then they've got a whole little mission that's been given to them by a friend to then go and get the resource from this specific, location, which is guarded. You break in, get the resource, get out. The better you do it, the higher your reward multiplier is, say, and the more that you then get back to your friend. So you want to do a good job of fulfilling the job, so that you both get a maximum reward for it.
So, strangely, I have to think about Skull and Bones now. I mean, that was another fiasco for Ubisoft, but the thing is, I mean, it is practically the same, but it would be with a story within it. So if Skull and Bones would be, for example, Black Flag 2, with a story in it, and you could do much more than only be on a ship, that would be a really awesome game, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think a Black Flag 2 would have been a much better call than Skull and Bones. And, I mean, you can say it's a bias if you want to, but that, as a big Sea of Thieves fan, I kind of saw that and was like, look, you're far too late to the party now. This game's entrenched itself as the pirate game for most people, especially now having been, put onto PlayStation as well. So whatever Skull and Bones was going to be, I think it was always going to have an uphill struggle, even if it did well, because to pull people away from Sea of Thieves, it was either going to have to be drastically different, which it's not exactly, and it's certainly not as impressive with what you can do, I think. And it would. I think Black Flag 2 absolutely would have been the better call.
Okay, then I have two more questions, and I think we can then end the podcast. If you have any questions, then please say it. But I would say, what about remaster or remakes from games? I mean, from Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would love them to remake one. I would absolutely love them to remake one. I think being out here again and doing the Crusades, but with a much better engine and updated controls and the parkour, and just all the technical advantages it would get from that would be great. And the same for something like even Black Flag. I think would be kind of cool. I think that's one that would deserve it more so than a lot of the others. And it's the sort of thing that they could do, having worked with having done Skull and Bones. You basically give it the polish and visual updates that game has in comparison. So I definitely could see them. I would be happy with them doing that, and I think that those wouldn't be. I don't think those would be negative for them at all. I think those would probably do quite well for them. All in all, would you want to see any of them remastered or remade?
I would see Assassin's Creed Bloodlines remastered a little bit, because it was a PSP game, and I think it was only on a PSP, and maybe we could see that, but the rest, I don't know. With the first one, maybe I didn't play it. I thought it would be in the Ezio collection, but if you say it is only a standalone title, the first one, then I would say it could be a remake or remaster too.
Yeah. I think definitely the first one in particular. Obviously, the Ezio trilogy is definitely what people would ask for more, I would imagine. But to remake or remaster 3 games is a bigger undertaking, you know. So I think returning to the very first game, giving it all the visual and technical improvements you can, and then probably also, you know, doing a bit of reworking of the story so that it can tie into some of the more modern releases as well. You know, maybe alluding to more of the stuff that was to come. Now that it's happened, you can now kind of shape it a little bit better to like be like, oh yeah, we know now that they have been to these sorts of places, so that we can now make references to that. That would be, I think, really really cool. But yeah, yeah, you know, I don't think the series necessarily needs to have a some. It doesn't need the Resident Evil treatment. You know, it doesn't. They don't need to all be remastered or remade. I don't think.
How I said, I would like to see other franchises, more of Ubisoft, get a remake or remaster. I mean, yeah, maybe
Mm-hmm.
Splinter Cell. I mean, that there was announced a little bit, a teaser trailer, but nothing more like Beyond the
Yeah.
Good and Evil 2, nothing heard about it, and it is kind of strange what Ubisoft do or did. And
Mm-hmm.
we will see what now Shadows brings. What are your expectations about Shadows? Have you a good feeling about that?
With Shadows, yeah. I mean, now I have a better feeling since when we did the fantasy draft. Now that we've seen more of it, I definitely have a better feeling for the game. I like the looks of both their gameplay. I'm definitely much more leaning towards Naue because I'm much more of a stealth person when it comes to Assassin's Creed games. But I want to play as both of them, and I just to even just get the feel of both of them and see how they both play. And they both have elements that look a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I love the setting. You know, I'm always drawn to you know, this sort of period, this sort of era in Japanese history. But also, it looks like they've done a lot to try and again differentiate the game, not just by where it is and who you are playing as, but also by what the game actually now offers, like the change in seasons and things like that. You know, where water freezes over during the winter, so you now they can't swim underwater and hide in that sort of situation. So you're going to have to think of an alternative route to get somewhere or do something. So that sort of reactive, immersive sim elements, I think, are, if anything, that's actually more, I think, of what the series should be aiming to do. Now that I think back to, I think, one of Fraser's questions, which was what could they do to improve things, or what could they add? More immersive sim elements, I think, would actually do the series a lot of good. Fans appreciate, gamers appreciate discovering something that they feel should happen, and when it does, it feels really good. There's a real sense of positive feedback when you look at, say, you're playing a game where there's you're in a lit tunnel where there's a torch on the wall and there's a guard at the end of the hall, and you know that if I was able to put that light out, I could sneak past him. And so you throw, you know, a bucket of water at it and it splashes on the wall, and the light goes out and the guard goes, hey, what's going on? He moves and you're able to skirt past him. Feels great. Feels really good, you know, because you've worked it out yourself through the understanding of, well, this is what would happen in real life. I wonder if they put this into the game. Yes, they have. Amazing. This feels really cool. So yeah, more stuff like that would, I think, be beneficial to the game, and there seems to be some of that coming through now, which is exciting.
I didn't thought about the seasons you mentioned. I have now a thing in my head when you assassin about over a sea and then the ice break and yeah, this could happen then too maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Maybe now is light enough that she can do that, but maybe the other chap, I can't remember his name sadly off the top of my head, uh, maybe he can crack the ice. Maybe he's too heavy with his heavy plate armor and all that, and he just falls in the water.
yeah, but we have to, of course, make another question too about that. What if the Assassin's Creed Shadows don't sell well? and Ubisoft get panic and so on, and need to sell everything maybe to Tencent or something else. What would then happen, in your
Yeah,
opinion?
that's really scary to me. I don't like the idea of it at all. As much as I don't appreciate how Ubisoft has been handled for many years, I don't want to see all of these IPs suddenly split up. I don't think it's necessarily going to do them any good. I think they're with the right teams of people. I think the teams working on these games are the right teams for the games. I just, as I've said before, that it's the mismanagement that's going on. It's the rash decision making. It's the short-sighted behavior of the higher ups that is causing the most damage, and lofty expectations of things where they haven't taken into consideration that a lot of the market is taken up by these other titles, so people aren't spending as much money on these experiences anymore. So I think those sort of adjustments need to happen. Otherwise, as you said, a lot of these IPs are probably going to get snapped up and sold to other studios, or they'll be given access to them, as it seems to be. They're creating some sort of like IP portfolio thing where it sounds like studios or publishers can sort of spend money to then use the IPs, basically. I don't know about that either. Like it seems like a kind of another possible rash decision that will ultimately lead to the watering down of the IPs, because there'll be dozens of them entering the market of all manners, and it will just lose identity. I would feel much better if they actually stayed true to the IPs, kept them with the studios and the teams that know these games so well and have worked on these IPs for so long, and do a better job of obviously retaining the teams as they are. You don't want to keep losing members of your team, whether it's layoffs or it's people moving on. Like at the end of the day, if someone wants to move on to work on something else, do right by them and support them in that decision. But if you can convince a brilliant director to stay on and work on the next title by doing whatever you can to make that happen, and they're happy then to do it, you should be doing that. You want to keep those people around working on these titles, and that ultimately is the crux of it. I think is taking care of the people making these games so that they can then produce the best work and the most heartfelt work, as it were, putting themselves into it as much as they can, without hurting themselves or for fear of losing their jobs or losing any form of security. That's what will help these games thrive more so than anything. It's just if those people at the top are willing to do it. That's the question.
Totally agree about that. But I want to end this podcast on a positive note. I mean, we're looking forward to the next Assassin's Creed a bit, and maybe we will play it and say something about it. I heard a bit. I got a hint that if we like the feudal Japan, then we could like Shadows too. So maybe we will like it, and yeah, we're looking forward to Assassin's Creed and the future of Ubisoft too, and we hope that it gets better. Do you have any questions so far?
I mean, what I would say is, if we both manage to get around to playing it, maybe we should do another one of these where we can talk about our experiences with it. That would be kind of fun if you'd be up for that. Because I'm always up for talking about whatever games we've been playing, as you probably heard from us on our weekly news podcast. So if you'd be interested in doing that, I'd be happy to come back and do some more chatting about Assassin's Creed Shadows from the other side of it, then where we would have played it. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, more so than anything, is Shadows one of the games you're most excited for this year, do you think, or is it just something that is like the next big thing that's coming up for you?
Ooh, Good questions, because I'm looking forward to other titles like Ninja Gaiden 4, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
This would be my most exciting title. For the most, I think it would be, for the most people, it would be GTA 6, of course. But
Hmm.
yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows is not my most exciting title I want. I would likely to prefer on the same day Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition,
Mm.
because I liked the game on the Wii U, and yeah, it's kind of sad that the Wii U got the treatment of Nintendo, but it is what it is.
So,
Um, and yeah, yeah. What about you?
uh, I think I'm excited for it, as I said, but again, yeah, if it had come out in a different year, I'd be much more excited for it, because it would be surrounded by so many other big titles that are coming out, which is the key thing. So, there's a lot this year that I'm excited for, and so maybe if this had come out at another time in another year, then this would probably be in my top, 3 or so titles to be excited for. Um, but hey, it's a busy year. It's a stacked year. There's a lot of good games coming out, and as we've said, gamers have to be careful sometimes with what they can get, and they have to make those hard decisions. Do I get Assassin's Creed Shadows, or do I get Monster Hunter Wilds, or is it going to be South of Midnight, or Doom: The Dark Ages? These are all coming out this year, or have come out this year. So yeah, a lot to come.
Yeah, and the thing is, we have also our backlog, and last year was big too, with Indiana Jones, with Persona, etc., etc. So many big titles, and the same with the previous years too. It is really ridiculous, and I think we could agree that we need a break. We need a break,
Mhm.
and the developer and publisher need to bring don't need to bring every year a new game. That we
No,
have
absolutely.
1 year with no games, and we can also play the games that we own, and this would be awesome too.
Yeah, the backlog. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good idea.
I mean, some people did that and didn't buy any game in 1 year, and for me that would be hard a little bit, but I can understand why they did that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think, as you say, it'd be a tough challenge, but I imagine it'd be very rewarding. Not just saving money, but also playing a lot of games that you otherwise probably would have struggled to get around to, and missing out on. If you already own them, why not play them? But
Mhm.
there are so many. There are so many. There's only so much time.
But about your question, I would also likely to be on your podcast too, of course, and maybe
Mm.
some other people would come and listen to this podcast now, and want to be on my podcast too. That would be awesome too. So people, if you want, send me a message and we can do that. Phrase, I want you.
Yeah, please jump on. It's been great fun. I've really enjoyed it. So thank you. And I definitely want to say to others, yeah, get in touch. To be try to come on the podcast. It's really nice to chat with you, man.
Thank you, and thank you for your time, and that you do it with me, even if we don't have much experience with Assassin's Creed. I think we did a really good job.
Yeah, yeah. I think everyone's got if even if you've got a history with the series, it's worth sharing your opinion, because again, all these games are so different. We keep saying so who knows what's going to come.
And the best thing we learn about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I would say we end this podcast for now, and again, thank you for being here, Harry, and we will see us in the next podcast, maybe, and yeah, or in the next video. We see, and thank you for being there.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. Really, really enjoyed it.
And thanks for the listener for being there and listening to the end. And yeah, see you next time.